Hello everyone. Today I have another guest from Nigeria. He is Osinakachi. He do lot of interesting things, especially he contributing in education. He do research. He is running NGO. He is doing lot of work for Africa, and especially he work with TAFFDS, and he has a many good contribution in his economy. So hello, Mr. Osinakachi. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Sharif. It's an honor to having me on your show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Can you please introduce you and your activities, your business with our audience?
Okay, I'm Osinakachi Akuma Kalu, and I'm a Nigerian a philosopher, singularitarian, futurist. My core interest is based on Fearism studies, and it is very important in our time because we are living in the age of fear, terror, and uh, eco-fearism. And I'm the founder and the current secretary of Transdisciplinary Agora for Future Discussions, a US-based non-profit organization. Our interest is to build a gateway in and out of Africa, and we are also working hard in making sure that we position Africa to the world and the world to Africa. Currently, we have Tom Ross as the president and Brenda as the vice. So we are working hard to see that we structure things and put everything in place.
Yes. Very interesting thing is that, like, I know that you are from Nigeria. You have many challenges. You have many interesting solution as well. So, how you actually adapt with this kind of challenges and the solution? How your organization is doing work right now? What's your objective?
Well, the objective of TARS is to not just position in Africa, because the core interest in one of the core values of TARS is to avail a platform for interdisciplinary discussion, because I believe that ideological or subject-based supremacy won't help in solving human problems. So I call it agora because it is like a marketplace where we reason together and come into a consensus in how to solve human problem. And there's this problem that we are facing, innovation in the aspect of disruptive technologies. People tend to misuse science and technology. So the ethical usage of science and the technology becomes very important to me. And I say that we need to also work on that and see aware of having an ethical based application of application or the usage of science and technology.
Mhm. Okay, like interestingly, you are giving solution for science and technology. So, how actually African community invent different kind of science and technology, and how actually you are working for invention?
Well, we you know we started in United States, and we've been running programs. The first program we did last year was international conference. The first program we run last year had to do with sensitization, and later this year we did a program on international conference of future Africa sustaining the source. And why we did our program was to look out for what works for Africa. It's commonplace that people just introduce to continents or countries what they feel that is best for them without looking at what works for them. The idea of pseudoscience, calling others invention or practices as pseudoscience, um, or not refined ideology, is also causing problems. So we look at for what works for Africa and see a way of positioning Africa. It's not only Africa because we'll be moving from one continent to the other. So it's something that has to do with understanding people's ideology through them. So it's very important. Like I said, like my topic has to do with fearism. When we get to that, I will talk about fearism in the evolving world.
Okay, like you are discussing on the fearism and this kind of issues. So how you want to explain these things with our audience? What's the Africa has? What's the African inner beauty? How you overcome from the different challenges?
Well, uh, first of all, I would like to explain, give a little bit of background about fearism and talk about talk about the key definition, key players, and give a little bit of theories of theorism, and then contextualize it based on the African viewpoint, and look at the challenges of Africa. Basically, when you come to Africa, Africans so far the same have a general knowledge of experience of that led to what they are suffering now. We started from colonization, the idea of slave trade, and all that. And most people that colonized Africans, they didn't do good to Africa. They literally despoiled Africa. They came, they stole the treasures all that was in Africa, and they denuded Africa. So these very acts affected not just the developmental process of Africa, but it affected the psychic evolutionary process of Africa. Now, Africans now this attitude is preeminent because it's a preeminent to them because most Africans now have this grow with this sense of kill and divide. Now, you know what happened in in 1893 when Africa was partitioned in during the Berlin Conference, and they shared Africa without the knowledge of Africans, and this led to what we call colonization. And this colonization that divide Africans among francophone and anglophone and the other sectors, those colonized by Portuguese and all that. These very acts disintegrated Africa. So this disintegration and this sense of kill and divide and regionalization affected their developmental process. But Africans are trying to have this sense of realization. But this realization also is affected by what religion. So which is disturbing their progression as species. And a lot of persons are saying we should do away with religion. And man by nature is also a religious being, not in the sense of being a Christian or a Muslim and all that, but we have what we grew up to find, and like the African traditional religion and all that. We have our own ancestral religion, but there is something that is affecting, not that Africans are not good, because if you check very well, Africans are doing fantastically well in all walks of life across the world. But the sense of wrong leadership, when the average number of the population are living under poverty, those persons, their interest is to put food on their table and not to see a way of having good leaders. So bad leadership is the problem that is hindering the progress of Africa. So now let me talk a little bit of on fearism. When you talk about fearism, the first thing that you need to underline there is fear, and it has to do with the intimate relationship between fear and life. how does fear regulate our actions and inactions in the world? What is the place of fear in our existential struggle as species? Now, most people don't know that fear is not just a negative emotion. Now, fearism is a contemporary philosophy um, that that has its origin or that begins with De Schuber and Michael Fisher. Now they started it differently in their own countries because, but it's popularly um, um, known as a philosophy, as a contemporary philosophy that was started by De Schuber. So De Schuber is a Nepali philosopher that is based in Hong Kong. Now, White, he was researching and developing theories and concepts on fearism. Michael Fisher from Calgary, Canada, have been writing books about fearism and fearology, but he started as far back as 1970, late 1970s to early 1980. Now, Michael Fisher is influenced by Ken Wilber, the educationist and the psychologist. So, when they started developing, although they later met in life, I think in 2014. So, the Schuber wrote this wonderful book, uh, Philosophy of Fearism. And one of the core things that he said here that is very fascinating is that life is conducted, directed, and controlled by fear. So, but then this wonderful book written by Aromike Fisher, The Words Fearlessness Teaching, a critical integral approach to fear management for the 21st century, becomes also a fascinating work for fear management education and in building a very good fear management system. So now there are key players, key contributors in this field. We have people like I've mentioned the Shuba, Michael Fisher. We have B. Maria Kumar from India. We have Michael Basilanayo that developed the idea of fear territory, how to know fear zones and see a way of applying a good fear management education to that zone. So we have people like Adekari that helped in developing theories on ecofearism and in the age of eco crisis. So Nonye Ayaha also it's a health practitioner that developed a good fear management education when it has to do with health system because she is a family nurse and there is always this based on her experience there is always this fear that exists between a health practitioner and the patient. So she developed theories on how to manage these systems. And we have Ranakafu is a literary icon that writes on the literatures of Fearism. But before I go further, permit me to explain fear theory so as to link it to the how it influenced our evolutionary process. So but we have pillars of fearism like fearology, fearality, fearitrics, fear analysis, and terror criticism. So you cannot talk about fearism without its pillars. People, philosophers, especially the ancient philosophers, the medieval, early modern, and later modern, never explain give much concern when it has to do with fear education. And the psychologists, especially defined, and sociologists defined fear as a negative emotion, but we see it as, as consciousness and not just an emotion. So it is consciousness which becomes an emotion when perceived, because when you perceive fear, it creates an impression. So that impression, when when you get the impressions in your mind, it becomes an emotion, because it dispossesses you and makes you to think. So your action, and how you utilize that consciousness makes it a negative or a positive emotion. You get the point? So now it becomes something that helps in our evolutionary process, because during the Stone Age, right? During the Stone Age, we had we have this sense of survivor, and which led to what, for us to go into fishing to avoid the fear of death, and we led to us building shelters to avoid being devoured by animals, and also it led us to trying to get herbs and medical care to avoid for the fear of what death and infections and diseases. But we have fear theories, which I would like to outline. As I said, the first theory states that violence, terrorism, oppression, repressions, dynamics in all forms created by humans is understandable and fundamentally underpinned by fear-based motivation. Now, fear creates more fear until it becomes terror. Something happened last 2 years between Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un, when we lived in the age of fear climax due to fear mongering. The information received by by the U.S. president and the North Korea president Kim Jong Un. This happened in the past before, that led to the building or development of atomic bombs and all that. So uh, a country will get information about how this country is advancing or preparing or instigating war or crisis, and they tend to build, you understand, to build a defense mechanism, which also leads to terror and all that. So it is the information, how you receive fear without good management, that leads to terror. And this is prevalent in the life of the terrorist. Now, something happened when Osama bin Laden, the time of Osama bin Laden, and Osama bin Laden said that once hero, it explained that once hero is an another man's terrorist, and it also occurs as uh, any group that is seeking for actualization of sovereignty. The other region sees the person as what, as a terrorist, and attack the person a terrorist, because of the way the person is pushing for the cessation or regional actualization of existence. So another theory of fearism says that fear and its management um, underpins to some degrees all other theories and philosophies of life and human behavior, including the very formation of learning and knowing. So, if some persons don't really give a concrete theorization of what they perceive that has to do with the relationship between fear and life, and why they don't give these theories is also based on fear, because some persons had normally paint ideologies. They don't really stabilize, they don't situate it, because sometimes they will say, uh, how do you want people to perceive this thing that you are giving? How do you want people to react towards this thing, and which even affect history? And when you look closely, we see that we are having distortion of histories, and this distortion is even affecting our existence, is even affecting our being. Now, for instance, the psychologists talked about the F3 before the Fearism thinker made it F4. They talk about fear as being um, flight, freeze, and the fights, and we added fearless. Now you cannot just be, you cannot just manage fear with the F3, because for you to really understand a reality very well, you must also have this sense of fearless. You must also have this sense of fearless in the sense that you need to understand what you are afraid of. Now, if you are crossing the main road, when you see a car coming, you understand, you have the knowledge that when you enter this lane, that you'll be crushed by the car, right? So it helps you to also really have the good knowledge of how to cross this road. Either you need to build a flyover, because as you grow, as species, you get weaker. So maybe you may not be smart enough to cross the road without building a flyover, or you need to put a mark, a demarcation that shows that this someone is passing. When you get to this age, you need to slow down. So it is as a result of fear that we have this consciousness of putting in place what helps us in evolving better as species. Now, in the age of techno-scientific complexities, as pushed by singularitarian futurists and my transhumanist brothers, there are there are a lot of things that need to be really understood. Now we are talking about conquering age and death and solving aging and stuff like that. How are we really thinking on positioning the psychic of our people to really receive this information? Most people see it as weird, right? Most people see it as something that is impossible. Most people see it as creating something that is even disruptive to us, to our kind, because most of these things question our ontological foundation as species. So you are talking about immortality. What about the poor who cannot achieve some of all these tools? What about the danger of providing this to monsters like leaders that do not care for the poor masses? So like people like Adolf Hitler. What if they never died? What if they still exist now, like Mobutu Sese Seko and on some other world leaders in the history of mankind that poses threat in our existence? So it becomes a question that we need to also understand and position ourselves to reality. This now boils down also to Africa. Like we are saying that there is no hope. Like something happened a few days ago um, that has to do with the MD of NDDC, um, and the Senate here in Nigeria trying to probe people who looted the country's treasury, and a whole lot of drama. You see someone pretending to be fencing in the house in the before the panel when asked about the fund that he looted. So some of all this, it creates a sense of awareness. Although the youths understand that there is something cooking up, when they start putting up these dramas. But you cannot just say this is not true when you don't put a system in place to not just fight it, but dispossess the existing system. Because if you want to have a good system in place, you don't need to fight the other system. The best thing is to build a system that will make the existing system obsolete. So it becomes that the youth needs to come together, have a way of a systematic plan that we push analog leaders out in the digital age.
Yes, this is very interesting issues, and from my personal opinions, I believe that like when fearism and this kind of things come, actually, most important thing is education. Education can help peoples to moving forward one level to another level. I love to know, like, what's the present situation in Africa, especially education system, how you are working, how you are developing the strategy, how African people life change with the education system.
Well, like this same question a rap pastor asked me in 2019 I did X Me Radio. I told him, you cannot, a system cannot function in a non-functioning system. You know, you are talking about education because you have the sense of education, because and you are an educationist, you understand the place of education in existence of the human person. Now, when you have leaders that are not educated, their interest is to make money. They see leadership, they don't see politics as leadership role. They see politics as an avenue to enrich themselves and their family. The idea of education is nothing to them. Now, take for instance, because no one speaks from nowhere, they said, now I need to speak from my experience here in Nigeria. When you have leaders that didn't even finish high school, leaders that cannot speak correct English, that don't want even, although English is not the basic of education, because when you say education now, we are not talking about just schooling. We are talking about integral learning process whereby you lead people from ignorance. But you know that that the level of school children dropout in Nigeria or Africa is high. So most people cannot even afford the basic education. And when the country don't invest, or when they are writing the budget, they don't even um, allocate enough resources for for basic education. You see that there is a problem. So I like this question because it's a way of raising the consciousness on our leaders, because the leaders needs to also um, allocate fund and allow people that understand the need, the value of education, to handle, to be ministers, commissioners of education. But however, we've had professors handling, being commissioners and ministers in this field, but these people will not allow them to put up systems. Something happened in the past when when uh, Professor Professor Izumasel Onyocha started philosophy at Imo State University, where he told us that he brought the Harvard curriculum and everything and submitted to the government and said, "This is what I would like us to use." They said, "No, no, 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 no. It will discourage the student. It will discourage people from going to school. They should also cut it down. They need to cut it down. Whilst cutting it down, you are also cutting down the standard. So when the standard of education is low, it will affect every other sector. So you need to have good standard of education to also operate in a standard. You can be the first in your school, but when you go out to the world, you may not be able to compete. So you need to have certain standards to really operate very well. In Africa, the problem is not the people. The problem is the system. There is no functioning system. We have smart and intelligent Africans, and it is obvious when you go to check the records to the universities across the world, you see them performing very well. But the problem is that there is no good system for them to function, and no one like that's why we are encouraging like that soon we will start our TFDS Academy. Like this one is existing, the Tekidia Institute is also helping to educate people. So it is because if you leave everything to the government, the system will totally collapse because the whole system is messed up. So well-meaning Africans are setting up system to make the existing system obsolete. So the best thing is to build that standard that we want. We are working on that seriously to build the standard that we want, so that people will have quality education, people will have good sense of what it means to be a well educated person in the 21st century. So you cannot be using what they call it 17th century curriculum in teaching people in the 21st century. So people don't even understand what you are saying. Like when I did philosophy, one of the contemporary philosophies weren't being explained very well. So, but it takes personal effort and the effort of friends to make researches and understand where the world is going. So you cannot be teaching cosmology or the cosmology of, for instance, of uh, of uh, of the cosmology of 12th century without mentioning space. So there are a lot of things that is going wrong. Like I said, the problem is not having a good system, but people are ready and willing to learn the best.
Yes, this is very interesting. Side by side, in COVID-19 situation, I want to know more about healthcare system in Africa, as well as I think there are some good audience response from Dr. Sharita. She said tremendous. Brenda, she said great sessions. Chandra, he said, "Wow, I'm happy to listening the discussion. Best research ahead." So anyway, we just how we can understand about the healthcare system of Africa. What's the present situation in Africa in COVID-19 period?
Well, actually, I'm not a scientist to start with. I'm not a health worker. I'm not a health practitioner. But with my little knowledge, the issue or the idea of COVID-19 or coronavirus here in Africa, everything is politics. I'll tell you, I've not seen anyone. I've not had. I've been hearing, but I've not seen. I've not known a friend that knows someone that is suffering from coronavirus. I think the the number of those suffering from coronavirus is is being hyped. They they increase the numbers to create a toxic system and see a way of looting the treasury for themselves and saying, "Oh, we used it in treating coronavirus." It's affecting it's affecting the economy. For instance, now in Nigeria, the Minister of Finance said that we are not going to have foreign reserve for about 4 years, 3 years, sorry. So you know what it means for a country not to have a foreign reserve for 3 years. And like during the International Conference of Future Africa, most persons like Brenda talked about this topic, and we had panel on this. Now, I want to bring to your awareness that before during the preliminary or the early stage of coronavirus, a country that is blessed like Nigeria, a country with one of the best mineral and natural resources in the world, never had up to 5 ventilators. I mean, across the country. Across the country. I'm not talking about particular states. I mean, the whole Nigeria, a country with over 200 million population. Now, the hospital at the presidential villa that is in Asoro never had even a single ventilator. So the one donated at Abuja Teaching Hospital was moved to the Asoro villa. So, but um, they have been allocating resources or budgeting for healthcare and the building of the hospital in the Asorok Villa, and building of the both in the state level and the federal level. But none of all this being utilized. I've said it. I did an interview and I said during this COVID and after this COVID, I don't know if they can make a law that will say every president should be treated in their country and every governor should be treated in his or her states. Same with commissioners, same with ministers. This will help them to put a very good healthcare system in place so that they will not be traveling out of the country, out of the states to treat themselves, leaving the decayed system for the poor masses. So you look at it that way. Aside from that, there is always a point of departure. If you don't have a good system in place, you don't have a good healthcare system, if you don't listen to the educated, imagine an illiterate advising the educated fellow saying that this is how I want it to be. So it's not all about uh, being a good leader or being well educated or be well informative. You must also have this sense of listening to those around you. If you don't listen, you can't lead very well. You must have a listening ear. Listen to those who are experts. Like when you asked me this question about healthcare, I told you it is not my area of specialty. So I cannot give a very good distant analysis based on that. But I can just say with my informed with what I have been hearing and what I have been seeing around me. So, but I can listen to those who are best informed in this angle. That is it. If you can't listen, you can operate because you need to listen to put in place an operational model that will give you a good result in any angle that you want to operate. So that is it. So there is no good system in place to checkmate this, and there is no even plan put in place for the economy to revive after COVID. They are still they are still borrowing money. They are still borrowing from China. They are still borrowing. Tomorrow, African leaders will keep on borrowing without servicing the debt. So when you borrow and you reloot it without investing it, having a good oasis principle, having a good ripple effect plans to see a way of multiplying what you have borrowed for effective and efficient utilization of what you have borrowed, then there is a problem. You are jeopardizing with people's future. You don't care how the society progress and or how the youth will become the true and better version of themselves. So that is the problem that we are facing, and only when we the youth realize that they need to come up to and take up this mantle of leadership and put a very good system in place, unless everything will go into shambles. But like you said, where are the youths? There is no good education system. Only when
Yes.
they are informed that they will get the message clear.
Yes, in present situations, in present 21st century, infrastructure playing a major role when you like utilize your science, technology, like AI, even all of the necessary things. When you utilize, you need the infrastructure. What the infrastructures right now in Africa? What's the policy? You are author, you are a philosopher, you are trying to contributing with policy and this kind of research. So even how you want to explain the conditions and the improvement when we know that China has some good investment in Africa right now. We want to know detail.
Well, when you said that China they are investing in Africa, you need to ask why are they investing? What is their interest? When people start coming to you and calling you names, trying to be painted sepulchre. For instance, the Chinese they came to fight coronavirus in Nigeria, and all of a sudden, not even the Minister of Health could account for their. The Minister of Health was telling us that we don't know where they are. So they came. We don't even know their intention. You don't. You need to understand. There should be a kind of um, uh, memorandum of understanding where someone comes to your country or continent, you say, "Oh, why are you here? Let us know why you are here." It's this is a common sense question. Now, since you want to do this, what are we going to gain? Because everything that we do in life sometimes end towards gears towards profit maximization. Now, when you look at the character of these people that you call Chinese, they have not been they've not been anything very tangible that you can concretely say that they have been doing in Africa. They are here to do business. Now, the electronics can't even last. The electronics that they bring to Africa, or even Nigeria, can't even last for 1 month. When it spoil, you get another one. You're talking about infrastructure. But we have Africans who are inventing, who are innovative, but they lack funding. Have friends that have reached out to me that say, "Oh, I have this idea." I say, "Please go to the bank, write to them, and tell them your ideas and see if they can give you loan." I bet you can do that for over 200 years without getting loan. I've said it time with that number. Even Peter Obi, the former governor of Anambra State, said it. For instance, the basis is this: if Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, what is his name, Elon Musk, or to be in Africa, they wouldn't have succeeded because there is no system in place to make it function. When you talk about infrastructural development, all these operate and function well in a good system. Without a government with the sense of development, with the sense of science of and technology, all these can't function. So you need leaders with this mentality because let me tell you, they don't even accept the thesis, the contribution of the professors. They don't even respect professors. They mock professors, even someone like Professor Wole Soyinka, that is popularly known globally, will advise the government and they will tell him that this government is not poetry, government is not prose, government is not literature. So they don't want to listen to him. So an institution that refuses to listen to the educated elite will end up crumbling. So that is the problem that we are facing here. It's not about that the people that we don't have people that are ready to invent or to improve the system, but those persons cannot operate here. That's why our experts are leaving Africa. That is the problem that Africa is having. The experts, the key role players are migrating to United States, United Kingdom, and Europe to make exploits. So that is it. The one we have here is a petit or pseudo infrastructural development that doesn't last. So it's very difficult. Even most universities, let me say, in Nigeria, for instance, 80%, oh, sorry, 90% of the university doesn't have a Wi-Fi connection. What do you say about that? So 90% of the university doesn't have a good or functioning library. 80% of the universities in Nigeria doesn't have an e-library, electronic library. So it is not, I'm not trying to blow things out of proportion, but you can fact check. So you are talking about books. 98% of the libraries in Nigeria doesn't even have, let's say, 70% of their books being published between 2005 down to 2019. Most libraries in Nigeria doesn't have book published in 2020. So what are we saying? They are not connected to international library. All is okay. Most universities here in Nigeria doesn't even read thesis. Before the idea of writing thesis or memoir is for you to contribute your ideology, having passed through the school and seeing a way that your society can become better. That's why every chapter in a thesis has relevance of studies. So the relevance you put so that you see a way of improving the society. But here you can present your thesis to to the House of Assembly, to the governor and everything, that will just dust it and put it to the dust west bin. No one is ready to implement that because they have their plan. Their interest is how to sustain and win the next election. It's not about improving the developmental process. So what they have there is painted sepulcher. They just put it in place, and you look at it before you come back the next day, it's no longer there.
Mhm. Yes, one of the audience come up with this idea, Brenda. She said that problem is Africa is not investing in Africa. I think I don't know how do you want to define these things, but my major specific issue is that let's say in Malaysia we saw that many African people come here, they studying here. Even when I was in Europe and when we saw the American education system, many African people go there, they learn, they educate themselves. So how they contribute, because when we come to abroad we study, we build up ourselves, we grow ourselves, then our responsibility is high, we have to do more work for our nations. How actually this system work?
When I was studying, when I was a, this high school teacher, when I was teaching economics, I talked about this Asian and Japanese miracle. I talked about it, and I mentioned the growth of your country, how your country moved from nothing to something. So your country, Malaysia, right? Malaysia, they invested more on oil, right? Palm oil, right?
Yes.
Where did they get that palm oil? Can you tell me where your country got the palm fruits that they used to start up their economy?
Okay, it's from Africa.
Thank you. Not just from Africa. They got it from Nigeria. They got it from Imo States, states. But look at where Malaysia is today. They got it. They bought a paint, not just a bag. They bought a paint, and they started from somewhere. But do you know that the you can't compare the incomparable? I don't want to compare Malaysia with Nigeria now. So they started from somewhere. Now, someone we go out to study, and the policy you put in place for your government to adopt, they will throw it out. They don't want to listen to you. They see you as a threat to their position and not as a contribution to the growth of your country. When Malaysia started growing, they put in place meritocracy first. Any position you merit, you go there and operate, because they believe that we are all leaders in our areas of functioning. So when you start putting people in place where they function very well, you see things going well, things are going well. To the question of Brenda said that Africans are not investing. After your feasibility studies, when you want to make an investment, you first of all you make a feasibility study, right? After making your feasibility study and see that when you invest here, it will collapse, will you go ahead investing in that area? The answer is no. You invest where you will have, where your principles of progression, OIC principle, and ripple effect will make manifest. So nobody will invest because there is no, okay, you want to set up a company that will be asking you of something that has nothing to do with the starting up a company. So they want you to pay them before you start up a company that will contribute, that will create employment opportunity, that will also even help in the development of the system. Have you heard of a company that wants to company that wants to set up their firm in Nigeria, and the leaders will say you need to pay us 2 billion first. Professor Ndubisi talked about advice and say, okay, let us be applying tax waiver for these companies to attract investors. But they won't do it. But first of all, they won't even allow you to operate freely. They first of all say, you must pay us. And the money has nothing to do with the economic growth. You pay the politicians before you start up something. So you invest where you have growth. You don't invest to the place that is posing terroristic threat. Like for instance, I can't invest in Medjugorje. I can't invest in some site or area of of northern Nigeria. I can't. I wouldn't have even invest in what do we call it, in some areas of Niger Delta during the time of the militancy. So during that time, most most company moved from Nigeria to Ghana to start up their this thing of functionality. So that is it, operational system. Sorry. So you don't invest where you won't make profit, or in a danger zone. So if you check in Meduguri, there's nothing like functioning companies there again because of the Boko Haram terroristic attack.
Yes, I just want to know one of the specific things. How actually globalization help Africa to overcome from this challenging situation, as well as you have one of the regards from our audience, Umara Tanzila. She said, "Hello, Mr. Oshnakachi. It's an amazing session. Thank you." So, how you want to explain the global impact on Africa? How actually you can take some support from the globalization and overcome from this challenging situation? I want to say every economy has challenge and every economy has solutions. The more we have
Yes.
challenges, we have more solutions. But how we can cope up with this globalization?
My good philosophers, they will say, to be is to perceive, and to be is to be perceived. How you perceive me depends strengthens our relationship, right? If you trust me, you will help me, right? If you don't trust me, you cannot help me. It's affecting our peaceful coexistence and our economic strength in all walks of life. If I am borrowing you money and I'm seeing you utilize the money wisely, it will encourage me to give you more, right? But you've been borrowing money, and another country is also announcing or sending back looted funds to you. That very act won't encourage you to do more. Neither will it encourage me. Now, there is one thing that my friend Alo Peter said. He said that Alo Peter said that we should stop this mentality of first world country, second world country, third world country, and start looking at first world persons, second world persons, and third world persons. Now, through this, we can achieve this sense of position in the world, because Karl Marx talks about class struggle, which is affecting us. We were talking, Kamat was talking about class struggle, but now we are experiencing continental struggle, regional struggle, country-based struggle. So all this won't stop until we use the Occam razor to cut off these qualifications. So now, most people see Nigerians or Africans as fraudsters, people um, um, that involve in internet fraud. They don't want to see the true sides of. They don't want to know that we have people like Philip Emeagwali, we have people like Ekoko, we have people like Soyinka, we have people doing very well, like you just mentioned. So, but the globalized world should start having a filter. Like if they want to invest in a country, they should stop going through the government. They should invest through NGOs, because the governments don't even most of them, they don't even understand how to position this money. For instance, Bill Gates gave money for healthcare here some time ago. Is it last 4 years? He gave he gave 50 something billion million dollars, sorry, for the fight of polio and all that in Nigeria. But when he came back and discovered that this money wasn't utilized. What did he say? He said that Nigeria is the worst place to be giving birth in the whole world. Why he said it is not that Nigeria is not good, but because we don't have system in place. But you cannot service this system, you cannot position this system to the global world through that same corrupt government. You can do this through NGOs that are well positioned. There are NGOs that are well positioned in the world that can help in putting these things in place because they will supervise it and they have regulatory measures. They don't even have uh, uh, continental based board members or continental based executives. Like this is one of the things that I want TAFs and Tom Ross is trying to do with Brenda, with TAFs. Brenda and Tom Rose, they are trying to position, see a way of putting up systems that will function very well in Africa and across the world. Now, making TAS as the door in and out of Africa so that um, people will have the TAF logo, TAF certified logo on their websites and their CVs. So as to say, oh, this person, you can work with this person is well positioned, well put in place to handle this project. These companies can do this transparently because we are going to monitor them. So if you are not getting it right, we tell the world what you are doing. It's not something that we do hide and seek. Education has to do with leading people out of ignorance. You cannot solve this problem by running back to the ignorant person to uh, liberate people out of ignorance. So a blind cannot lead a blind. So you want to help Africa and you run back to the illiterate leaders. It doesn't work that way. So their understanding of reality is totally different. It is the opposite of what you think that they think.
Yes, this is very interesting sessions. Like we are in very near to close of this all of the sessions. Thank you, dear audience, that you come up with some of like good comments on Oshnakachi. So beside that, the last opinion I want to take from you, like yes, everywhere we have lot of challenge. Everywhere we also have lot of solution and opportunity. How actually global leader should react in these present challenging situations, and how young talented people like you, they can more contribute in this challenging situation.
Well, I've said it time without number. I said that first of all, we need to have what do we call it? Social entrepreneurs. One, people that not only criticize the system, but come up with solutions and work with that solution. One, two, there should be this idea of crowdfunding, since it appears that the world don't truly believe in Africa again. Most African countries can't use paper very well. They can't use Amazon very well as authors. Most African countries they did something like GoFundMe don't function in Africa. So there are a lot of things that doesn't function when you are in Africa. When you want to make researches using the internet, Google, you get different results when you are in Nigeria, and when you are in the United States, you get another result altogether. So there are a lot of qualifications. So Africans should create a system for themselves. My friend, Good Luck Arwa is trying to put up a web hosting services, maintenance, and security and I was super excited to give him all the necessary support because what he's doing, what he is planning is going to be very good, not just to Africa but others. but upcoming entrepreneurs and business owners. So the most important thing is to have this motivation and create up a crowdfunding system that help us to support each other, even when, because when others reject you, you don't reject yourself. We need to come together en masse to to support ourselves and have a functioning, not just a functioning system, and by creating a functioning system that will help us to move from nothing to something. We are capable of doing that because Africa has the highest number of youth by percentage. We have stronger potential to become the world leader than America, North or South America. We have the talent, we have the youths, we have the strength, and we have the natural and mineral resources. What we need to do is to build a system in place that will make the existing system obsolete, work as social entrepreneurs, because we must have the sense of practicalizing everything that we say, and we must utilize crowdfunding. And also, there should be an open door for both the youth and ladies to truly function and participate in politics and other leadership models.
Okay, thank you, thank you. This is actually a very nice discussion. How you give the conclusions and your constructions of the philosophy, and you are working a good job for your country. And personally, me and World Talent Economy Forum, everybody want to give you a send you regards, and hopefully your objective and your mission will be successful. And anything World Talent Economy Forums we can do with you, with your organization, we can support you. Definitely we will do our best, and by this way you will change the human lives in Africa, and you can create a great impact in Africa. Thank you for your valuable time. It's a very nice
Okay.
discussion.
Thank you, my brother Sharif. I thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I thank the World Future Forum. I'm very glad to be in your show and hope to joining you next to that time. And please keep up the good work that you are doing. Keep supporting and promoting young talents. I will also help in bringing more African elite to speak here, because we have great potential. We have people that we say more on what I said, because it could be no one's have it or no one knows it, or we all have this sense of perspectivism. We speak from our own viewpoints. So I'll bring more young talents to you from Africa to speak on this forum. And thank you. Keep on doing what you are doing. It's not easy to push global evolution and innovation through this model. So thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity out there. I would like you also to give your support to TAFs, like you said, and keep on promoting the good works and other NGOs. There are good NGOs out there also struggling to position Africa and also the world. So it will be a good one to also look at MDs, presidents of NGOs in Africa, to ask them what they are doing in improving the situation and life of Africans. Thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your valuable time.
Okay.